We now move on to our next story, and US Air Force MQ-9 Reaper surveillance drones have recently been seen at Puerto Rico's Rafael Hernandez Airport. They are indicative of Washington's expanded intelligence and monitoring operations in the region. Moreover, US officials have also deployed roughly 20 F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters to Puerto Rico, which reportedly is the largest known fifth-generation fighter presence ever assembled on the island. The combination of advanced stealth aircraft and increased maritime pressure on Venezuelan oil exports gives the deployment regional significance, well beyond a routine rotation. The US military buildup follows an order by US President Donald Trump that came earlier this month, where he directed a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. Joining us now is Ambassador Suresh Goel. He is a former diplomat and he joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us, Ambassador Goel. Looking at this military build-up and the sheer scale of it, how do you think this might escalate more, given the sheer amount of military equipment that's now both in the Caribbean, assembled in the Caribbean Sea? It's hard to think or assume that this isn't going to escalate into something a little more dramatic. What are your thoughts, Ambassador Goel?
Somehow the situation that is now being created around Venezuela reminds me of how Cuba, a situation was dealt with from the Cold War days around 50 or 60 years, more than 50 or 60 years ago. You remember the days of the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that kind of thing. Now, all that escalation was done, Cuba surrounded with all kinds of military hardware and the forces, primarily as a kind of a threat to Cuba of action in case of any thing happening, or in case Cuba crossed the line or Cuba tried to cross the sanctions against it, etc., etc. Now, I think basically what President Trump is doing is to create enough pressure so that Venezuela is not able to sell its oil. And please do remember that Venezuela's economy primarily depends upon the oil revenue. Therefore, if Venezuela is not able to get the oil out, it's finished in any case. However, if Maduro, for any reason, tries to dare USA and still tries to get the oil out, that is additional pressure, military pressure surrounding, built up around Venezuela to let Maduro know where he stands. Therefore, the only thing that I think can happen is that either Venezuela is going to weather out these are still not sanctions, but weather out the oil restrictions, or President Maduro will go out. So let us see which way it goes. One or the other has to happen. But I don't think that USA will go to the extent of actual action against Venezuela, a brazen action, I would say. I do remember that, yes, they had gone to Syria and they have gone to Nigeria. But in both the cases, they at least had the instrument or the fig leaf or whatever you want to call it, of the governments agreeing to that action. In Venezuela, they will have no such agreement, no such consent. And therefore, any action on Venezuela would actually be a declaration of war. I don't think that President Trump will go to that extent.
Indeed, it's escalating rather in a way that no one really knows where it's going to go. Okay, we're going to move on to our next story. Do stay with us, Ambassador Goel, until we move to Myanmar, and it's set for the third